been with the Symphony 21 years now, I think. I started in 2000. I'm Leith Temaat. I play trombone, obviously.
What about?
What made me decide to do the trombone my mom was always a big fan of Glenn Miller. And so she pushed that there. I moved from a really small town to a slightly larger town in 6th grade, so I was a year behind the rest of my classmates. But pretty much enjoyed playing it. I was, grade school kids, what do they know? 8th grade, I thought, I'm not good enough to be at the high school, so I tried to get out of 8th grade. Parents wouldn't allow me, fortunately. And it's been a very important part of my life. What turned me on music, I started enjoying really performing. Had a chance to play in front of people. I was not out for athletics very much. I played a little basketball, a little golf, not the other stuff. And I had friends. That's always an important thing, having friends in the band that you enjoy being with. We had the notorious trombone trio. We were kind of the clowns of the band. And so we drew some satisfaction from that, I think. And then actually when I went to college, I had planned on going into a pre-law program. And but I kept playing music, and I figured out I could still do law as a musician. You could do the LST without any degree, but the music just kept pulling me further and further away. I went to a really small college to start with. I transferred to Wichita State, which had a really good, strong program, and I got to travel all over the country. I went to St. Mary of the Plains for the first year, and the thing was probably kept me pushing towards music is there was a small select singing group, and we toured Europe for a month, and so just music has got me the opportunity to visit all over the world actually. Well, the groups I've played with, a lot of these have come through the Symphony. We bring people in. Art Garfunkel was one of them. When I was teaching out in way western Kansas, I had a friend they were looking for another trombone to sub in the Lawrence Welk group that was traveling through the country on a tour, and so I had a chance to play a couple of concerts with them. Well, the difference between playing with these guest artists and the Symphony, typically the guest artists, the music, at least for the trombone, is not that challenging technically. You're more of a background thing. A lot of the orchestral pieces play, which is something that's been very exciting for me with our Hutchinson Orchestra Symphony, is that we play some very challenging music. And there's some satisfaction from being able to do that. A couple of my favorite pieces, Holst's Planets is a special favorite. It has a lot of nice brassy things where you can just blow your heart out. And I've played arrangements of that actually with some of my high school bands. And one of the coolest things we did an arrangement by Jim Curnow, which is a very well-known high school band composer. But I and the art teacher in the school I was at, we did a video of astronomy, a view of planets and stuff, and we timed it with the different things going in. Kids got a lot of it. They thought that was really cool, and both the art teacher and I it was a kind of a really cool cross-cultural project. The music for me, most of my life has been focused playing and conducting bands, and so I think it's a very important, very musical medium. Also, though, in fact, orchestras, sometimes people say, well, that's the real music because that's where the basis comes from. And I'd agree to a certain extent, and I've really enjoyed that. The first live orchestra I heard was when I was in college at Wichita State. Now, my mom always played a lot of orchestral stuff on stereo, but as you know, that's not the same thing. Choirs have always played a big part of my life. I direct our church choir, or I did until the pandemic hit, so hopefully that'll start up again. But I've gotten a lot of satisfaction out of choral music. I sang in choirs at Wichita State. I was probably the only instrumental major that actually did everything across. There was a couple of semesters I was in 5 different ensembles. Each ensemble took a week tour, so you can get an idea how my spring semesters were. But some of my peak musical experiences have been choral pieces where we'd sing. We do. On a personal musician standpoint, I enjoy playing the top flight music, and it's satisfying at that. But on a more of being an educator for 36 years, it's really cool to watch the kids on the school swing programs and in by the bus. Just their faces light up. One of the cool things on school swing is we'll occasionally have a kid get up and conduct, and who watches the conductor anyway? But it's just cool. He gets into it. Richard's really good about encouraging the kids, and there's a lot of enthusiasm from the group out there. And again, I would think that's one of the things I missed this past year. We didn't have those two experiences. I'm hoping that we'll be able to get those back. I joined the Symphony Board 2006. We moved to town. I was commuting from Andale, Kansas to Buhler, and got a little tired of the commute, so we purchased the house that we're in right now. And Diane Cannon actually recruited me to be on that, and I served as kind of a regular board member for a couple of years, and then somehow, for lack of better judgment, I agreed to be president. And I was president for 2 or 3 years, and we elected somebody else in there, and they had to leave for summer and midterm, and so I was probably a total of 10 years. Of those, 16 years I was president. If you're on the board, you know, one of your main jobs is to support the symphony with finances, and it's grown much more difficult year by year, and this 2020 I'm sure has not helped much. But there was satisfaction with the product produced, frustration with the effort needed to fund it. The trombone I started on was a Con 12C or something, a really small horn, and when I got into high school, the high school had just bought a new tenor trombone with a trigger, which gives a lot more flexibility, and I played that up until my senior year, where my dad bought me a Con 88H, which is a very similar horn to this. In fact, he always asked, well, what was wrong with that horn when I bought this one? The Con horn was a lot brighter sound. This is a lot, fuller, dark sound. That's one of the reasons I got it. I've had it for probably 40 years. The F attachment also basically just gives you more flexibility. You can play different notes on this horn than you can a straight trombone. Has more range. Interesting thing too, the mouthpiece that I played on most of my career, I bought from a friend at Wichita State, and my mind just went blank. He plays with the American Brass Quintet. It'll come to me before I get through this. But I play that most of the time, and then I got kind of curious. I'm not a mouthpiece guy. I mean, I play with what I got. But I saw an advertisement for this mouthpiece, and it's fairly pricey, but it's called a wedge, and it's designed differently, and there's spots where it's kind of more of an oval than a circle, and it's the gold rim, and it gives you a little more endurance, and so that's actually the first different mouthpiece I've ever purchased, and I've been playing on it for about 3 years. The other 50 years was basically on this other same mouthpiece. All right, well, I'm going to play something called Stardust by Hoagie Carmichael. That kind of has a family story behind it. I said earlier that my mom was a real big fan of Glenn Miller. Well, my dad was into music a little bit too. His favorite song is Stardust. And so we just kind of put a couple of years. He passed away, by the way, this last year, so it's still kind of in the heart here. But my daughter, who's also a musician, we'd play this as a duet. And so it was kind of a special thing. same thing on trombone. The longer the slide is out, the lower the pitch. You produce a sound on a trombone with a buzz. It sets the air column vibrating, producing the sound. And again, it operates on overtone series. So from that overtone series is for 7 different positions. Add this trigger in, you've got another set of 6 basically, because the positions are all just a little bit longer. And so you can produce a whole different set of overtones in each of those, which the benefit of that is, for instance, if I were going to do this pattern, B flat to C, with the trigger, yeah, I can do it all there. Higher you go, the more flexibility you've got, so you can actually play melodies and stuff with hardly moving anything, or just moving between a couple of positions. Always have the joke that, well, how do you swallow that slide? 2 different slides, and again, they're very sensitive, very thin metal, easy to dent, and typically young kids have a little dip. Sometimes you get a kid that's just been playing, and they've not been very careful, and it's like really trying to pull to get it to move. The smoother the better, and there's different slide treatments. A lot of kids use slide oil. I use something called Super Slick, which is silicone with a, it's a silicone thing. Then you have a different fluid to operate that. I get a lot of satisfaction of playing the horn. One good thing about the pandemic is, for me at least, I've been playing 2 to 3 hours a day. I'm not sure about Susan, my wife topside here, and what she thinks. This trombone broke on me about halfway through. I was devastated. So Susan bought me as a kind of a birthday present one time an old 1930 trombone over here. And I don't like how it plays very well, but I got a lot better on it for about the 2 weeks the other horn was out. Interesting thing about this, that's a circular slide. This one has an octagonal slide on here, which is, a little bit different. Doesn't have the slide lock like the new ones do. Really is in pretty good shape. Like I said, just a lot stuffier. What I like about my horn is it has a lot of space to blow through.